Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about loading the football. I think this is so important when it comes to being able to effectively throw the football, not only when it comes to release time, but also being able to add more power and velocity to the throw. And I see a lot of quarterbacks make the mistake of just not effectively loading. So just want to get a little bit into what are some of the do's and do nots of loading the football real quick, just to make it so you guys have a great understanding of that. So big thing that I would say with this is as we're bringing the ball back, and I don't think there's one particular way we could do it with where the nose of football needs to be. We don't need to only do this or only do that, but I do think we want to get as much separation from the body with the elbow as possible, so the better we can get that elbow to kind of get away, the better off we're going to be. But what we don't want to end up doing is we don't want to go too far forward or too far back as we're going through the load. So the load is really more away you want to think about, and not back here. Or I guess with really going forward, we don't necessarily want to just like extend the elbow a ton, which is what makes it so then the ball goes more in front of your body. I think it's better to keep the ball close to the body, but be able to just get good height with the elbow. I like to really concentrate on keeping the nose of football more straight back as I'm loading. I don't necessarily want to get away here very much where the nose of football goes this way. I think going back this way is also not bad. So you can go back here or kind of straight back here. But once we start getting kind of this movement where the ball's kind of getting away from us, that ends up being a problem. We do see a lot of quarterbacks that will do a bit of a dip as they're loading, which I don't think is also a bad thing. We can keep it low. The big thing with if we're dipping, we just need to be able to maintain that shoulder position. You really want to be kind of up and back with the shoulder there. We don't want to end up kind of falling forward with the arm, because once we get here with the shoulder, then what happens is that's what causes that dip of the elbow as we start coming forward. We don't want that elbow to start falling down. We want to be able to get the elbow up and being able to maintain a good shoulder alignment to make it so that it's easy to transition forward as we're going through the throw. Again, once we start getting into like these types of positions here, then it allows that elbow to kind of, or needs that elbow to drop underneath, which is just not a great power position. Just to give a little better explanation is like once I go forward with my hand and then I start to try to go back, then that's what makes it so then I'm going to have a really long release. I think it's important to understand that we need to get the ball out of the hands quick, and so the closer we can keep the ball to the chest, then we'll be able to come right up and through and have that nice quick release. If we start to get the ball away from us, that's what's going to make it so then there's going to be all this excessive type of movement that's going to be happening. So the more concise we can be with loading the football, then the quicker we're going to be able to get the ball out. So like the shorter the release, the quicker it's going to get out. But then on the opposite side of that, the longer the release, the longer the amount of time is, then a lot of times the more power that you're going to have within the throw. So you want to have that kind of combination of efficiency as well as some length to be able to increase the distance. The thing with the load that kind of gets people into trouble is if they get too long with the load and it throws off what they're doing within their hips and within their lower body. You want to be able to be concise with it, because when we are loading and when you get into like the lower body and how you want to kind of effectively load there, to me it's really just kind of shifting here, getting that foot down and then rotating. I don't want to talk too much about the lower body here, but just to give a quick review, it's like we're here, right? So I'm loading and I'm getting my weight back, and to then take this step to then be able to shift my weight onto that front leg. It's going to be maybe a longer step when I'm throwing the ball deeper, but once this starts to happening, we need to be coming through. The issue I see with a lot of quarterbacks is that they'll start to really get on that front leg really quickly, but will be very far back with the hand, and now you don't have any real power there. Okay, so you need to be able to get your hips to start rotating onto that front leg, and at that same time be pretty close to this position, getting that elbow through and getting that wrist in that right spot. And I'm saying this just so then you understand when you're looking at your own self throw, am I in a good spot with how I'm loading? Am I putting the right amount of time into it so then I'm releasing the ball at the spot that I need to be releasing the ball at? If you are having a hard time with being able to add a lot of power into your throw, then I almost can guarantee that it has to do with either the timing of when you're rotating within the lower body, or if you're even rotating at all, and what's happening within the arm. The relationship between the rotation of the lower body or the shift of the lower body is off with how you're releasing within the upper body, and or just the load is just so ineffective. You're going way off here, you're way off here, you're going way back, or you're doing something with your arm or your hand that's making it so then you're not able to be effective. I can go over hundreds of different ways that people will go and load the ball that will make it so then they'll not be as effective at being able to throw the football. People think it's just like one or two things that will end up impacting it. And while there's a few joints that could have a big impact, just like the shoulder, elbow, and wrist, there's a lot of different ways we'll see people go through their load with their hands, and just the timing of what they do with the wrist and with the elbow, with the shoulder, a lot of times that's what ends up throwing people off. So it's important to really understand how to load the ball. If you are a quarterback and you don't think you need to be working on the load because you could throw the ball 40 yards or because you're 15, then you are really missing the point here, because for a lot of people, the most amount of improvement can be made by really focusing and isolating the smallest components of the movement, whether it's the throw or the release or the load, really being able to have a better understanding of how to isolate that and really feel exactly where that needs to be. And the better connection you have to that, then it's going to open up so many more opportunities for you to be able to release the ball effectively. So make sure you're spending the time to focus on those little parts of your release. And I would just work on just the release here, throwing it to the left, how am I going to load? Throwing it to the right, how am I going to load? 3-step drop, how am I going to load? 3-step in the hitch, how am I going to load? When I catch the ball and just want to get the ball around, how am I going to load? When I have to go in and I don't have the lace as well, how does that going to feel? How's that load? The more things you can focus on and work on within that, it'll just set you up to be able to be much more consistent, because the consistency comes from how well you're loading the football. That's why I'm making this video, because it's very, very important. But I see so many people mess it up, which is why I think it's very good to be able to understand how to do this correctly. So let me know if you have any questions after watching this, and as always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.